Hello, today I'll be coding this animation. So what we're going to have is a logo element with 4 triangles inside and then a paragraph saying complete this video. So logo, within it 4 times triangle, and finally that paragraph can't play, why was it this video? Okay, this is it for the structure. Now here I already have the colors I want to have for my triangles. For the body, I'm going to set some generic styles. So display flex, flex direction column, then I'm going to have align item center, then I'm going to have justify content center. I'm also going to have a black background. I'm going to have color white. I'm also going to set margin 0, going to set height full height. Oopsie. Okay. Okay, finally I'm going to set a font. Okay, something like 2ms. I'm going to take this font from here. Okay, so this is pretty much all of it for the body. Then I'm going to set an edge length for the triangles, and let's say it's going to be something like 2ms. Okay, and then for the logo element, I'm going to have position relative. Then I'm going to have a margin equal to that edge length. Then, and this is pretty much all I need for the logo. I'm going to have the triangle elements, and these are absolutely positioned. And I'm going to use a mix in here, mix in regular polygon. And this takes a number of vertices. By default, I'm going to set this. Do I actually need this number of vertices outside the mixin? Let's see. Yeah, I think I do. Sorry. So this is going to be 3. So these are going to be my defaults. I'm going to compute a base angle, and this is 360 degrees over the number of vertices. Then I'm going to compute a circumradius, which is half the edge length, over sine of half that base angle, and pretty much the same for the in radius, except okay, this is the in radius and this is not sine, this is tan. I'm also going to have the diameter, which is twice the circumradius. Then I'm also going to have a points list. So this is the list where I'm going to store the coordinates of the vertices. Here I'm going to have a loop for I from 0 to n. And I compute the current angle corresponding to that point, which is I times the base angle. Next, I'm going to have the x-coordinate, which is 50% times 1 plus cosine of the current angle, because everything gets added up to the central point, which is 50%, 50%. So that's going to be 50% plus 50% times cosine, so I can bring the 50% in front. The same for the other coordinate, except this time I'm going to have sine. And finally, for the points list, I'm going to have its previous version and then the x and y coordinates. Okay, now I'm going to set a bunch of stuff on the after pseudo element, and this is absolutely positioned. Content empty, with the diameter, and the same for the height. So they're equal in width and height, and the background current color, and now let's call this mixing here, include. Okay, here I'm going to have margin minus the circumradius. Something else I'm going to do here, color. I'm going to pick the first color out of the list. Here I'm going to set a clip path polygon. And I'm going to use that points list. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to repeat this for Safari. Chrome now supports this unprefixed, but Safari doesn't. So that's a pain. That's a pain. Oh. Now I'm going to have a position for this, and it's going to be rotate something and then translate something, and they're both going to be calc values. So, and I'm going to have, in both cases, I'm going to have a multiplier times a value, which I'm going to need to interpolate. So this is going to be the rotation multiplier, this is going to be the translation multiplier. This one by default is going to be half of n, so that's half rotation, and this is going to be my base angle. This one by default is going to be 0, so no translation. This the circumradius. So now when I do this, let's go back here, and I'm going to set transform that position. Okay, so as you can see, the first one is rotated the other way. Now I'm going to have a loop for I from 0 to, okay, and this is going to be the number of triangles which I need to compute. So this is a computed volume, and it's n plus 1, so it's the number of edges plus the one in the middle. So if I greater than 0, because there's no need to reset it for the first one, I'm going to have nth child I plus 1, and I'm going to set the rotation to I minus 2, and I'm also going to set the color to I plus 1. Okay. Now the next thing that I need to do is here have nth child n plus 2, set the translation multiplier to 1. Okay, and one more thing I want to do here is filter drop shadow, no offsets, 1 pixel blur, and current color, so that I don't have that tiny bit of line in between them. So now this looks quite a bit better. Now I think I can collapse this if right here. Okay, and I'm going to set also a time, let's say something like 3 seconds. And here I'm going to set an animation. Infinite. So here I'm going to have keyframes. Scale. And so the way you can see stuff here, they scale from a corner to the other corner. So I'm going to have a scale from 0 to 1, and then a scale from 1 to 0. So if I take them in the order of appearance, the one in the middle is the first one, the orange one is the second one, the blue one is the third one, and finally the dark orange, red orange, tomato one is the fourth one. So that's going to be my numbering. So this one, so since I have 4, I'm going to split each half of the animation, so each 50% into 4 plus 1, so that's 50. Split to 5, that's 10%. For each of these scaling animations, then 10% nothing happens, and scaling back again. 10% for each scaling down, and 10% nothing happens. So I'm going to have, so first of all, at the beginning nothing happens, first 10%, 0, 10%. Then 10% to 20%, the first one in the middle goes from 0 to 1. 20%, 30%, the second one, the orange one, goes from 0 to 1. 30%, 40%, the third one, the blue one, goes from 0 to 1. And 40%, 50%, the fourth one, that tomato red, goes from 0 to 1. Then 50%, 60%, nothing happens, it's fully scaled. 60%, 70%, the last one, the tomato one, goes from 1 to 0. Then the second one, the orange one, goes from 1 to 0. Then the third one goes from 1 to 0 for the 80%, 90%. And then finally 90%, 100%. The one in the middle, the first one, goes okay, so on reverse, the order is preserved for the second and the third, but it's reversed between the first and the fourth. So I'm going to need to use XOR there. So I'm going to need to compute XOR. So I'm going to have here a J, which is actually I don't even think I need to. I just need the XOR volume. So I'm going to have two components here. First one is going to be I modulo 2 plus floor I over 2, and everything is going to be modulo 2. So this is going to be my XOR volume. So everything is going to be at 0, scale 0, at 0 and 100%. So that's a given. Okay. Then I'm going to have that they start scaling up from 0 at I plus 1 times the base percentage, which is 10%, which I need to compute actually. So this base percentage is 100% over so it's going to be m. Okay, actually m plus 1, sorry. So now that I've done this, this is going to be I plus 1 times that base percentage. Next, it's going to be past 50%, so 50% plus. And then I'm going to have XOR times and this is going to be XOR times I plus m minus 1 minus I, and this is going to be 1 minus XOR times this. Okay, and this is going to be plus 2 times the percentage. And this is going to be transform scale 0, and then I'm going to have something similar to these two, but only these two. Except this is going to be plus 2 and this is going to be plus 1, and here I'm going to have transform scale 1 so here I'm also going to have after and animation name okay. Except they scale from the corner, so let's set that transform origin. That's going to be calc 50% minus the inner radius and then I'm going to have calc 50% minus half the edge length. Okay, and I don't want them to go down the same way. So let's see. Now I can collapse this, and I think I'm done with this as well. I don't think I'm going to need to make any changes to the mixin either. So that's going to be just here. I'm going to have an animation, same steps 1, infinite. So here I'm going to have my scaling animation, keyframes, and it's going to be 50%, transform the initial position, scale y minus 1. So let's see. Yeah, it seems to be working. Okay, one more thing I want to do here. I want to have a slight bounce here at the end. And this is going to be right here. So let's make it less exaggerated actually. Okay, so yeah, this is pretty much it. This is the whole thing. You're going to find the link to the finished demo in the description below. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the comments or send them on Twitter. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have and you want me to be able to do more of these videos in the future, please consider supporting my work in one of the ways explained in the description. With a donation, by getting me something off my Amazon wishlist, or at least by sharing this to show the world what can be done with CSS these days, because I think it's pretty damn cool. In any event, thanks for watching.